to take your quiz. The other thing I do for you guys is I do record my lectures, so I just actually turned that on, right? If I can get here early, I put my kid on the bus at, 6:50 in the morning. You can find a way to get here on time as well, right? It's going to be a disadvantage for you if you're not on time. So, as I said earlier, you should have already got a welcome email from me. I already turned on my Canvas site for you guys ahead of time. Anyone not know how to get to Canvas? Okay, cool. I'm going to skip that step. But it's through the Delgado website, right? You click the Canvas button right under the scrolling pictures. And then you can go to courses, or right now, most of our dashboards is full with stuff, right? Because students don't check their Delgado email or their preferred email they set up with Delgado. So they're blasting us right now, instructors and students as well, with all their things that they really want us to know. But you'll find your courses at the bottom of the page. And these you can change, like I've changed them so that they make sense for me because I teach multiple sections of these courses. But you can set up your favorites right here under courses. If you don't see your courses, that's because you haven't set up your favorites. You just click all courses, and then you click the little star next to your course. So as you can see, it is to my benefit to do that because I've got a gazillion courses in here. I'm sure the list will just continue to get longer. So for you guys, it's going to say microbiology, general microbiology lab section 102, right? Are we 102? Yeah, we're 102. I think we're 102. And so all the important stuff, you'll notice that each of the courses, if the instructors turn it on, has a syllabus. This isn't the actual syllabus, right? This is a syllabus tab. It kind of links everything in Canvas. Some instructors use this page, others do not. I didn't put it on this page, but I've been putting it in my lecture class. Like, this is not the syllabus. All your materials are under modules. But this one I actually did the links to all the modules so people understand that that's usually what this is. These are links. So the syllabus and stuff, actually, module has my schedule, which may potentially change. So guess what I'm going to do if it changes? I'll post it on Canvas for you, right? So you'll have access to it. They wanted us to have our office hours set yesterday, but yet we haven't figured out when some of our other meetings are. So I'll probably have to move these around, potentially. But as I said, the important information is this phone number. I'll zoom in because it's kind of tiny for some of us that are visually impaired. So my name is Erica Burns. My Google number that rings my cell phone and my office phone is that number. I suggest you put it in your cell phones now so you have it. Because if you know you're going to miss lab or you miss lab, you need to contact me as soon as possible. You can send me a quick text, and probably what I'll do is call you and figure out when we're going to meet up. You can't go to any of the other lab sections. They're all full, right? So we're going to have to meet sometime when there isn't a class in here and I'm available. So we'll have to work that out based on individual schedules. Don't come here sick, right? We don't want what you have. This is a small room, and you also contaminate your work, right? And you definitely don't want that, and we don't want that. So you'll see I do teach 2 sections of this lab. So Tuesday's like my dress rehearsal, and you guys get the real performance, right, on Wednesday morning. And I will record this lecture each time. If you ever miss lab, the things I'm going to remind you is for you to watch the recorded lecture before coming to lab, because I'm not going to re-lecture when you come, right? And people who are in lab, I lectured first, I talked about what we were going to do, and then they did it. So when we meet, you've already watched the lecture, you already have an idea of what you need to do, and then we just come into lab and do what you need to do, right? And I shouldn't have to give you too much instruction, depending on when in the semester that happens. Right? Does that make sense to you guys? They link out to YouTube, right? And so you can watch them anywhere. You can download them. I don't care. I just want my students to get what they need. Right? And you can subscribe to my channel and you can see all my past semester stuff and all my other classes. I'm not restricting it right now. Eventually I'll learn how to do that, but right now I really don't care. I want my students to have what they need. Right? Any questions at this point? Okay, so everyone has a copy of the syllabus in that pile in front of you, as well as you'll notice at the top of your pile There was a copy of the lab for today. We're actually going to do a lab today, so that you can refer to it if you need to. This you do not get to keep. Notice it says lab copy. What I'm going to ask you to do is at the end of class, file it by the number in this little filing system. So you'll notice that this has number 8 on it. Trying to reach something. So you'll put it under number 8, so that way I make sure I get them all back. You'll do this with your quizzes each week too. You'll file them by your last name, and then you'll pick up whatever handout I have for you that day, which is your homework basically for the next week. That's the only paper you don't get to keep. The rest of it is all yours. If you ever lose anything that I give you, guess where you can find it? On Canvas. So you're going to print the handout? Yes. Yes. I will do that. But you only get one copy, so if you lose it, you got to reprint your own. If you're absent, you can pick up your handout, because I only print enough for everybody that's in class, so again, it's not an extra. You can pick it up from my office door, which is the other thing I need to go over. So I'm in the big cubicle area back here, room 113W. If you go out this room and you head that way through the double doors, you see all the cubicles. Mine's really easy to find. It's towards the back. It's the only one with a blue roof, and my guard dog is up there on the top. He's a skeleton. A friend gave it to me. Right. When they were doing the construction, they nearly killed me with all the stuff that was going into the air. So I had to close in my office, and I have a HEPA filter that's normally running in there. Right now I'm trying to not use it now that the construction's over. We'll see. But I'm probably going to keep my roof. I like the ambiance, and it helps students find where I am. If any time during office hours I'm not in my office, you'll notice there's a little board on my office door with an arrow. They'll give you a quick idea. Most of the time it's pointing, saying I'm in this room, right? Because, again, I'm prepping for this lab or another lab, right? I'm in charge of all the labs. So I spend a lot of time in this room. Or I'm helping a student who needs to do what they missed, right? So other than my office, here's the second place to check. If you still can't find me, right, and you desperately need me, right, I might be in the bathroom, so just wait a few minutes. Otherwise, call or text me, right? And that number is right on my office door, too, so in case you don't have it programmed into your phone or you can't find it. So the actual syllabus is under the syllabus and stuff modules, and you have a copy of it because you're going to use it and refer to it throughout the semester. It also has the calendar associated with it. So notice my office hours are right in that same module, and I'm not going to read through this entire syllabus, right? We will lose our mind, and we have other things we would need to do. So I'm going to highlight some of the important stuff. If you're a student with disabilities, it's not a problem. I'll do whatever I can to accommodate. You guys have already witnessed that, right? If you need special testing, special quizzing, the one thing that you need to do for me to be able to provide that for you, and that's why I was saying this morning, but I didn't get a letter. You need to go to the Office of Disability Services for this campus. It's in Building 2, Room 102. It's apparently Gretchen Peoples now. The person keeps changing. She's actually a person that's done this job before, so that's somewhat good news with students with disabilities because she knows what she's doing. She has a lot of students to handle. You need to get your stuff done with them so that I get a letter that allows me to give you accommodations, right? So you need to do that today if you haven't already. I don't have a problem with it. I'm dyslexic, right? I know what it's like to struggle with certain things, and I'll do anything I can within reason to help you out. So don't feel like I won't, right? Even though this morning I was a little bit upset. It's only because I didn't have any pre-warning. The textbook is required. It's just one book. It's a lab manual. Anyone got theirs already? Yeah, it looks different for them. It comes packaged. You have it. Okay. So it comes packaged. It doesn't come with a 3-ring binder, but it's 3-hole punched. It is just your exercises that you need for this lab. Okay. We made a deal with the publisher. We did a custom version of it to save you guys money. So you're not having to pay $80, you have to pay $54 with tax. Okay, so you can't find it anywhere else cheaper. Right, you're unfortunate. Part of that, right? Your only option is the bookstore here. There's some tricks to skipping the line at the bookstore and making sure you get your copy as soon as possible. Within my Canvas site, I have the order textbook link turned on. I also have the step-by-step instructions. You can use your financial aid. You can go through their website, which is the bottom of Delgado's homepage. If you go to the bottom, there are important links there. I don't know why they put the important ones at the bottom, but they're at the bottom. And the bookstore I consider is an important link, but it's at the bottom of the page. Or you can just link through Canvas. Select the campus, right? Select the division, select this class and all sections, and it'll give you this book. You can use your financial aid, and you can order it online, and you can choose to pick up in the store. So then you just go in the textbook line to pick up, and you don't have to go to the cashier. You can walk right out with your book. The other thing you're going to need to purchase before the 3rd week of class is your own disposable lab coat. Because guess what we're going to do with it at the end of the semester? We're going to throw it away. These are nice. Some people are like, oh, but I want them. No, trust me, you don't want a real lab coat. I hate mine. I think this semester I'm actually going to go buy one from the bookstore. We have medium, large, extra large, and double XL. If for some reason the double XL still isn't big enough for you, come talk to me, right? And we'll figure out what we're going to do. I couldn't get Bob to order a whole case of triple XL. And they do, I think, kind of run kind of small, though I haven't seen the double XLs. Last semester when we only went to XL, then we had a few students that were wearing their lab coats backwards because they were big enough. We want to make sure that you get a lab coat that fits. So if those don't cut it, and he should have some out in the area where you can try them on, the different sizes. Where you actually get that in the bookstores, you have to go up to the cashier and you say, I need a microbiology lab coat, and you tell them what size. They're about $5, right? So it's not too bad. Now, we wear safety glasses in here. At one time we tried goggles that didn't work out so well. Most of my students last semester, or all of our students, actually donated their safety glasses. They didn't want to take them home. So I have a whole bin of them back there that you can, week 3 if you want, you can take a pair, put your name on it, and put it, can you hold that up for me, Steve? Everyone's going to get an extra large Ziploc baggie that they'll store their lab coat in, their safety glasses, page protectors. If you have your own page protectors, bring 2 in to put in your thing. I don't know if mine got ordered. Hey girl, are you here to talk about the science resource? Give me 1 second and then I'll let you go. Are you running away though? No. Oh, okay, you can stand in the door. Pens. 3rd week of lab, any pen that you use during lab cannot ever leave this lab again, right? So we have, again, a donation cup of pens and pencils that you can take from. You can clean it off. And we have isopropyl alcohol. You can clean those safety glasses the first time, right, and put them in your bag, and you can use those. He does have half a case of safety glasses left. So if you want to purchase your very own that no one else has ever worn, you can do that too. They run about $4 for those. So you have some choices, and you have a little bit of time for that. You don't need it next week, but the following week you will need those supplies. So I'm going to actually... So how many of you guys know about the Science Resource Center? I'm trying to think, we have it in here. Yeah, we do. Anybody been there? No one. Okay. So tell them your name. Carrie. Woohoo. She's bringing me icky stuff. Okay. Can you put that in the fridge right there for me?
I just found it.
It's icky.
Oh no. I think these, Paul, I take these back. I think these came from somewhere like maybe Slidell. And
Yeah.
read carefully because they need to be thrown away.
It's not much stuff.
Well, I don't know where they came from, but we can't use that.
These are unopened.
Yeah, but they're all the pathogens. That's trash.
No, it's not.
No, you can't
Not
use those
chicken.
here.
Yeah.
Nope, that's the rules.
Yeah, chicken.
Okay. I saw those. I forgot to tell you to throw them away.
I'm doing one.
Hence the big symbol on them.
They don't go in the refrigerator for 107, 108.
I didn't put them there. They're not mine. It's not mine. I So Carrie is actually a past student of mine way back when, and she's one of the tutors. Yeah, not lab, lecture, and it was the other lecture, so not going to be much help. But Erin, is Erin back this semester? Erin is one of the tutors that's taken, I think, both my lecture and lab for majors. She's a really good student. She's also taken my genetics class. She's one of the tutors that you can ask for if you need help for micro when you go back there. So she's going to tell you where it is and some of that stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to Carrie.
Exactly across the hall from it, 126W, which is the annex right here. It's a little part that sticks out with kind of where you see campus police. Anybody know where that is? Yes or no? That might be a good or not so good thing. We're right behind in that little hallway right there. And we're open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Friday, and 10 to 2 on Saturday. There, like I said, together is all about making everybody, helping everyone to be successful. That's one of the tools. It's free. Take advantage of it. But you also have a great instructor, so you can also ask her, email, I know, anything that you need. But we have slides you can look at, and you will need to go get an ID to check out the slides. We can't take anything else. Okay. So make sure, because we all have to get one anyway, right? So make sure you get it. And also, we have also books, like sometimes older versions, but we have the current version in now. Is this the pathogens?
No, this is general micro lab, but you guys probably have it. But I'll check in this week.
Yeah, and let us know. If not, sometimes we have maybe a little older edition. The material, a lot of it is still current and running. And again, you need your ID to check that out. You can't take it with you. You just never go off. Come check this out. Come say hi. We're here to help. Okay? Because we want you to go into your programs. So, all right. Nice seeing you again. We helped you move a little bit.
They were great.
When he was
And help you guys too.
making the move, but yeah.
Still moving.
Yes.
Carrie,
Okay,
before you run off, I actually have a document under our syllabus and stuff. So our slides, unless you guys move them, are actually in 125 West, which is the computer lab, because those microscopes in there have a camera attached to them. And actually, my students this semester, I will actually bring you guys over in a couple of weeks and show you how to use that software. Plus, I've taken all the pictures for you. So in lab next week, if you take out your phone and start trying to take pictures, I'm like, stop. I already done this. There's no reason to waste time trying to angle your camera and all that crazy stuff. So this is my old one, so it has the fall hours, but I think from what you said, they're pretty much the same, right?
Yes, spring is the same, and actually it's on the door, and it's in the hallway on the bulletin board. There you can take
And I
pictures
usually
with
print
your
this and
phone.
put it.
But it's the same for, the only time we're different is summer, because the campus hours are
Yeah.
different. But we're the same,
So-
spring and fall are the same. So, okay, and then also when we have holidays here, we're not open. Okay, like for instance, Mardi Gras break,
Yeah.
stuff. We will not be open. The whole school's closed down. There's no air. There's no heat. Okay, so people have asked us, can you come on a Saturday, like can we do it on Saturday? No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This
And
place
we
is
do
chaos.
Hmm?
This place is chaos on
I know,
Endymion
it's very
Saturday.
chaotic anyway. Y'all have a wonderful Wednesday, okay? And just come by and say hello. Bye-bye, thanks.
You're welcome. So when you walk in that room with the computers, right there at the front of the room with the big computer screen, and right there's a little box of slides right there. There's actually a stack of paper towels there for wiping off the slides. There should also be, as you can see, a book of lens paper for you to clean the microscope, because you are going to need to use oil. Please clean up after yourselves, because then they're going to start telling you guys you can't use oil, which means you can't use that lab for micro, because for most of the stuff we're going to look at through the semester, you're going to need oil immersion. And should be at least one bottle of oil there. When I bring the whole class over, I bring a whole bunch of bottles of oil, which we have plenty of now, thanks to Slidell. We just got to make sure we clean up after ourselves. So I usually hang this up once I get the new hours, but I figured they'd be pretty much the same, so I went ahead and posted it. I'm pretty much available Monday through Friday from 8 to 3, unless I've got something else going on. So if you want me to go over there with you, I have no problem doing so. If other instructors, right, their students as well, are welcome to come get me if I'm available. So I make that available to everybody. I know how to use the equipment in there, and I like doing it. It's one of my favorite things. So we got some awesome pictures from last semester. So I keep wanting to click this syllabus thing. See, even me. Maybe I should turn off that page. Okay, so moving on the syllabus. So that information to general information. It's a great resource. Definitely utilize it. Micro students don't tend to utilize it as much as other students, but it's a great resource. Okay, the return of the FN grade. So I want to give you guys a little bit of warning about this. We've had this in the past, and it's back again. It may morph into something a little bit different than it's been before. I haven't changed the syllabus because we haven't got total confirmation on it. But what that means is that you stopped attending a course and you failed it because you didn't attend or participate. Within this 14-day window, if I mark or any of your instructors mark you here, then we cannot drop you. If you never attend during the 14-day, we have to drop you or we get in trouble. I mean, like, really get in trouble. And we don't get paid for you, like financial aid or anything like that. We don't get any money for you because you didn't show up. If you show up one day, say, and then you never show up again and you never drop, you will get an FN grade. And this means you're financially liable and you won't get financial aid the next semester probably because you didn't do what you said you were going to do, which was attend school. You just took the money. So apparently this is a problem and they're trying to crack down on it. So much so that they're actually instituting the FN grade at midterm apparently now. Where if you don't show up at midterm, and especially if you don't show up for any of your classes at midterm, you haven't showed up at all, you haven't contacted your instructors, if all your instructors give you an FN, you'll be dropped from school. And you'll have to go through the reinstatement process. That's not the problem for any of you guys, right? Because you showed up to this class, so there's no way you're going to get an FN in all your classes because I'm not dropping you and I'm not giving you an FN. Well, I could give you an FN. Actually, that's not true. I won't drop you, right? But you could get an FN if you come today and never come again, right? And if you do that for the rest of your classes, you'll get dropped from school. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. I don't like to spend too much time on that crazy stuff, but I need to inform my students. So the reason why I print your syllabus is because you're going to use it. You'll notice that each lab period we tend to do several exercises, right? This is a nice quick table of reference, and then it is detailed out for you, and you're going to want to refer and read these things each week to know what to expect. And in the beginning, I'll probably even repost some of this stuff in Canvas. So I'm not going to go through exercise by exercise, right? But it is all laid out for you. The other important thing students want to know is grading. So I don't really deviate from what we have in the general syllabus for this course, but I do have another document in Canvas that just details it a little bit more for you. I do homework assignments instead of lab reports. They're due before each lab. They're 5 points apiece. I don't actually collect them. I look at them to make sure you've completed 80% of the work. And you'll get a stamp on your quiz. As you're taking your quiz, I check homework. This next coming week is the only time really I'm going to actually be checking 2 handouts because we're going to do a lab today, right? So obviously you couldn't do it before lab. And you need to finish it up because obviously you're going to need to study it for next week's quiz. And then you will do an additional handout, which is lab 2, for that day's lab, right? We will have more than 10 of these throughout the semester. So once we get past 10, the rest of them are, your lowest ones are dropped, right? So if you miss, right, or you forget to do it, which wouldn't be a good idea because that'll make lab more difficult, then and Canvas will do that, and I'll let you guys know once we reach that point. It'll actually gray out the ones that are your drops. Quizzes are 10 points apiece. Again, we'll have more than 10 probably, depending on how the semester goes. So you'll get to drop a few of those as well. You will do a report on your unknown organism. We're going to change this up a little bit this semester. We're going to work with it earlier than we have in the past. And I'm going to break it up into several assignments that you're going to turn in on Canvas to make it easier for myself as well as for you guys. But all total, all that work on your unknown is going to be worth 50 points. So it's a significant part of your grade, but we're gonna chunk it up this semester. You'll have a midterm practical exam where you actually have to look under the microscope and identify things. You also have a written portion, and you'll have a practical portion where you'll actually have to perform a technique in front of me and be graded on it. You won't do that for the final. You won't have a technique you'll have to do. And for some quizzes, you'll have techniques you'll have to do as well. But you will have to look under the microscope again for the final exam. Each one of those is 100 points each. So total maximum points is 400 points. So you divide the number of points you have by 400. It'll give you your score. The nice thing about Canvas nowadays is it's going to keep calculating it throughout the semester for you. And I always enter my grades on Canvas each week. So sometimes you even know your quiz grade before I hand it back because I posted it on Canvas. Any questions in regards to that? No tests are dropped or curved, right? Don't ask, right? Doesn't happen. I've been doing this for 10 plus years, so we've got a pretty good system going, right? And we'll guide you as best we can to a successful completion. Let's see. So all the particular stuff, you guys can read through this stuff on your own. I'm not going to go over it. I think I highlighted all the important stuff. So there is the grade calculation right there in a little bit more detail for you guys. Oh, that's what I didn't look at the schedule. How did I skip that? Oh, you know, I don't blank part of the page. Thank you. I told you, I thought I had it. I thought I was with it today. Okay. In addition to the syllabus, in your syllabus packet is, wait for it, the safety rules. But you'll notice you have a separate sheet of that. And I have a PowerPoint because that's insanely small font. See, there it is. See how small it is? That we need to go over. But you have one in your syllabus so that you have it for reference, but then you have a separate one that you're going to fill out and you're going to leave in the lab today. So that we have it in case an emergency happens. And as I said, I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to go over this with. What I want to skip to is the schedule. So as she said, there is the Mardi Gras holidays. It's Saturday through March 1st. Because our labs this semester are on Saturday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, that week we don't have any labs. That's the only week we don't have any labs. And then unfortunately, right when you guys come back from Mardi Gras is your first exam, right? The midterm exam during midterms. Just crappy timing, but you know, that's the way Mardi Gras likes to do it to us. And then we start right back up, Lab 7, right, when we go in order. We have 13 labs, so that pushes us to final exams. And what we do in this lab and in other labs that go into final exams, we look at the final exam schedule, and just like you would for your class, we figure out what day and time you would have this final. So we go by the final exam schedule. So if you have another instructor that tells you, you know, you have a final in my class that day, they're probably not following the schedule. But, you know, check with me, right? But unless it's another lab class, you shouldn't have any conflicts with this. The problem with that is that it falls on a day that you don't usually have lab, right? So it kind of screws you up, especially those of you guys that work. Like final exams week is just like totally, you know, off kilter from what you're used to. So I made it really easy. I have them on the schedule, but I also put them listed right here, all of them. So we're at Wednesday at 8 a.m. We're section 102. So ours is going to be Monday, May 8th at 9. Typically, exams start at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? But I like to have additional time to make sure the setup and everything is good and give you guys a chance to get here and not be late. But you're going to be used to coming at 8, right? So you'll probably be out in the hallway bullshitting with each other while I'm finishing up the setup for the exam. Any questions on that? All right, so put this calendar in your phone or wherever important place you need to put it, right? Keep it in your binder. Do what you need to do. So the good news is, as far as this, notice spring break for us is only 2 days. It doesn't affect this lab, right? It's only Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something like that. I know some of us have kids, right? You have the schedule now. You know when your kids are off. You should already probably had that scheduled at the beginning of the school year. Figure out what you're going to do with your kid, right? Because you can't bring them here, right? And calling me up and saying, Miss Erica, I need to do a makeup lab because my kid doesn't have school today is not a reason for a makeup lab. If I'm nice, I might, right? But it's your responsibility to get a babysitter, put them in camp, something like that, right? Grandparents, I love my grandparents. Thank you very much for watching my kid during spring break. So, you know, start figuring that out now if you have that particular problem. Because I'm a mom and I understand it can be difficult. Sometimes I'll be nice, but that's my choice, right? I don't have to do that, and neither do any of your other instructors. Okay, so that brings us to the safety stuff. So I have a PowerPoint for that, and it, of course, is posted under the syllabus and stuff. So there are general safety lab rules that all the biology labs use, right? But then we have additional ones which are on the flip side of the page, and some of them I've already mentioned, like the fact that you need to wear a lab coat in this lab once we start working with microorganisms. You need to wear safety glasses. We provide you with gloves, right? Non-latex gloves, so you don't have to worry about if you have latex allergies. The reason why we provide the gloves is to make sure that they're the correct type of gloves for what you're doing in this lab, and you don't buy some cheap ones that aren't sufficient for what you need to do. Because safety is important, right? So the other thing that's helpful as far as safety is concerned is if you sign up for Delgado Alert. Again, this is at the bottom of the homepage, or you can use this link, which I also have linked in my Canvas course. I think you only have to do it once a year, but you know, it's probably a good thing to check each semester and make sure your information is correct. So that way you'll get an alert if there's a power outage, if there's weather emergency, different things like that. You'll notice that when certain things happen, like all the phones in 113W start ringing, so then we know it's an alert that's being sent out. So when everyone's looking at their phones in class, I'm like, oh, what's happening? Thank God we've never had any of those like active shooter or things like that. Knock on wood. I hope that's always the case for as long as I'm ever here. But they would use that type of system for something like that as well. One slight amendment to this, because sometimes we've actually had fires in this building. This is a very large building. There's lots of different departments. There's arts on the 3rd floor. I think they had some fire thing once. There's actually, since I've been working here 10 years, there's actually been 3 real fires that have been in this building. And so sometimes because of that, it'll be hours if not being let in at all. So we are allowing you guys to as quickly as you can, grab your stuff and go. And then we also have a particular procedure for fire drills. I'm going to go through that in a moment. So, if there's a power outage, if that door is closed, which most of the time I keep it open because when we use the Bunsen burners, we need the ventilation. I have a flashlight up front. It's not the greatest flashlight, but we're not going to be using our cell phones most days, right? So just stay put. I'll try and turn on this one or grab my cell phone, get us a light, get the door opened, right? Just stay wherever you are is what I'm going to say. Stay put. I will get us some light. I'll open the door, the emergency lighting in the hallway. This little light might turn on depending. But I'll tell you, I've been in here when it's been, you know what these are? Holders for dead batteries, right? But I usually check it every semester. It is lighting. It's light, not much. Probably need to bring in like a serious one for in lab, not school provided one. Because I've been in here. It's dark and frightening. And then we'll move to the hallway, and depending on the situation, we'll assess from that point what we will do about that. I'm going to skip the shoes and the hair because we're going to go into detail on that for ours. No eating, drinking, chewing gum, right? None of that stuff in this lab. What we have done, because again, you don't want your stuff out because you don't want it to get spilt on or damaged, and you're not going to need most of your stuff when you're in this class. We have assigned cabinets, so you'll notice if you look at your seat, you're assigned a number, and your number is on a cabinet. For some of you guys in the middle and along here, you'll see there's cabinets in the back, and then there's a cabinet over there, and then there's cabinets behind you. Depending on where you're sitting, you have an assigned cabinet the big one in the back 4 people share, but it's big, right? There's plenty of room, as long as you don't bring your whole suitcase worth of stuff with you to lab. We have storage place for your personal belongings because we don't want to trip. Now, exam days, you'll put it up here underneath the chalkboard, so that way you're not disturbing anyone as you leave that may be taking the test, right? Because they won't be scattered all throughout the room. Because you're going to be putting your stuff away, we really don't have to worry about your bags or anything like that being hung on your chairs. But you don't want to hang your lab coats or anything off of these chairs. And, you know, I think this is a no-brainer, but apparently they feel the need to put it in here. Don't lean back in your chairs. We'll go over the lab coat stuff. Never insert anything to an electrical outlet plug. This includes our gas things. You'd be surprised. Okay? So those things like warning labels on things. Why do we have it? Because somebody has done it. Don't do that. Okay. Always carry microscopes with 2 hands. So you'll notice most of the microscopes are along the back of the room. I'll take the covers off when we're using microscopes. The new ones, 1 through 10, and your microscope is assigned to you based on your numbered seat. Everybody gets their own microscope. The other ones, you know, you just grab the handle, the arm, I'll show you that, and you put your other hand underneath it, right? Carry it securely to your lab bench. Be careful when you put it on your lab bench. You'll notice these benches have a lip to them. You don't want to put it on the edge. You want to make sure that it's nice and level and it's not going to fall off the lab bench. That edge is for spills, right? It contains spills so they don't hopefully end up on you. Don't open any containers unless instructed to do so by your instructor. Don't taste or sniff chemicals. Do not bring chemicals into contact with your face, eyes, nose, or mouth. Most of the stuff we work with in this class you don't want to smell, right? You're going to be complaining about the smell in this room. Microorganisms are stinky. I'm going to open the incubator. You're all going to go, ugh, get used to it. This is microbiology, right? But obviously, we don't want to be messing with these things. Don't mix any chemicals unless I tell you to do so, right? Don't use any chemicals without labels on them. We've done a really good job of really putting really nice labels that you can read on all the stuff we use now. I even have scissors that don't really have a pointed edge, so that's probably the most pointy thing we work with in this lab. But obviously exercise caution. Don't do anything you're not supposed to, right, on any unauthorized or unsupervised experiments. Accidents are important and accidents happen. The second an accident happens, let me know. We'll deal with it together. Like I said, accidents happen. Don't freak out about it, right? And we'll deal with it. Our Eyewash station does not work properly. We have 2 saline bottles. You just pop it open, you hold your eye open, and you just dump it on. I'll, of course, assist you if for some reason you're not wearing your safety glasses, even though I'm going to tell you to put them on, right, and you goof and you get something in your eye. I've done this before. Unfortunately, I was an idiot in research one day and wasn't wearing my safety glasses, and my boss squirted Mycobacteria leprae into my eye. So someday I may end up with leprosy. Hopefully not, because I took the antibiotics just in case afterwards, right? So you don't want to fall into that type of situation ever. Don't learn the hard way like some of us have. If, you know, depending on what's going on, right, don't rub your eyes, don't stick your fingers in your eyes because they may be dirty, right? We'll ask for assistance if you actually have something in your eye. Don't mess with it. We'll get the professionals to do that. This is one of the microbiology exceptions. We actually put in that glass disposal box in the back of the room, we actually put our glass slides that aren't broken in it. But any broken glass will go in there, with an exception that if we actually have media that's in a glass tube, it can't go in that box, right? It has to be disposed of in a different manner. Any major spills and stuff, paper towels will go in that bucket right there on top of the incubator, labeled 25 under our clock. Pretty much that trash can by the door is just going to be paper towels you use to wipe up your lab bench each day. Gloves will go in the glove buckets that you see, the orange buckets in the sinks and in the back of the room. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to explain in a moment. Probably one of the biggest pet peeves for me, especially in this room, is you guys pushing in your stools when you leave. Make sure you push them in. This room is teeny tiny, right? It makes it really hard to clean up and negotiate this room when all the chairs are sticking out, okay? So please, as you're leaving each day, push in that chair. So that's the general stuff, right? And you got to sign off on it. Our course number is 212. Our section is, I said, what, 102? But please just write Wednesday, 8 a.m. in case you get in the wrong pile somehow. The room number is 102 West. Today is what? What is today's date? 18th, right? And of course, my name is Erica Burns. So now we're going to go over the specific rules for microbiology. As you guys witnessed this morning, Miss Paula tried to give me old organisms that are pathogenic. And I said, I do not want these, go throw them away. We no longer use pathogens in this lab. But that does not mean, right, that these microorganisms couldn't potentially have health risks for some individuals. We're going to teach you guys how to work with these organisms as if they were pathogens. But the good news is if you screw up, hopefully nobody's going to get sick. Okay? This is because, unfortunately, in other teaching labs in the past, not necessarily here at Delgado, we haven't ever had anything linked to us that we know of. People don't follow protocol. They take things like lab pens out of the lab, and they bring salmonella home. And they get everybody sick. Or students don't wash their hands and they touch the doorknob, right? And the instructor touches the doorknob and brings something nasty home, right? Because you guys are beginners, we don't work with pathogens anymore to mitigate that risk. But I'm going to teach you how to work with pathogens so that in the real world, because any other place you go, you're going to work with pathogens. And you need to know these techniques. So you're going to get a chance to practice in a safe environment, so it's not a huge deal if you screw up, right? But these are important techniques to learn. Washing your hands, as most of us know in this day and age, is one of the most important things as far as the spread of disease, right? When you come into lab, you should actually wash your hands. I'm not so big about that, but whenever you get finished working with microorganisms, cleaning up, you need to wash your hands. The unfortunate thing in this room, and the only sink we actually use for that, is that back sink. And it will flood that entire back area as well, which is why our paper towels are stacked on top of a test tube rack. And underneath the cabinet is a whole case of paper towels, because we'll go through a lot. You'll notice there are paper towels on your lab bench. This is one of those things that, you know, if we run out in the lab, I'm like, go ahead and get some from the cabinet, right? That's not something I have to take out for you guys. You guys can get paper towels out if you need to replace any of our piles throughout the room. And again, those go in the regular trash can by the door. They don't go in our recycling bin up at the front of the room. Non-latex gloves, as I said, are provided for you. I'm also going to teach you the proper way to take them off. There's also a video at the end of this PowerPoint I'm going to post on Canvas for you guys as well. But when we get to that, instead of taking up time today when we're not using gloves, I do that when we actually use gloves. As I said, you're going to buy your own disposable lab coat, right? Once we bring it into the lab, it stays in the lab. You're going to store it in your baggie. We're going to store them in the bins behind you in that last row, and sometimes in the drawers. I think we're going to probably do bins for this class, just as I said, so we can quickly get in and out of this room. The drawer doesn't seem to hold 16 real well, though I'm concerned about the 5 people who aren't here. Everyone is here. I've marked on the roll, right? Okay. I don't know. Okay. The other thing that can be hard, especially when it's warm out, because you know winter was like 2 weekends ago for Louisiana, that's pretty much it. This is the great thing about Louisiana. You huddle in one room for a weekend and then that's it. Long pants or skirts, I cannot see any skin on your legs in this room. Your shoes have to completely cover your feet without any holes. Sneakers are your best bet, right? What I suggest for students at the beginning of the semester is take an old pair of pants, right? Typically, I wear the stuff I don't care about in this lab, right? Because we work with stains, and stains do just that. They stain. You don't have to worry about your shirts because you're going to be wearing your lab coat, right? So short sleeves is fine because your lab coat has sleeves. It has a cuff even too, which is great. We have demonstrated that these are worth it because a student put her hand right over the Bunsen burner. It smoldered a little bit and went out, didn't burn her skin. All was good. Except she had to go then buy another lab coat because that one was now damaged. So that's another thing. If you do damage it, we have spares for you to use during lab that period, but then you need to replace that with another lab coat, so you'll have to go buy another one. We also have scrubs for you. So if you spill on yourself really bad, right, we have scrubs that you can quickly change into, but what I suggest is old pair of pants, old t-shirt, underwear even, because, you know, you don't want to have soggy underwear all day potentially. We have the scrubs for you that you'll need to bring back if you need to, but it would be best if you could just throw the scrubs on, go get your stuff from your car, and also that way if someday you forget, right, you forget you have lab, and I'm not going to let you in come week 3 if you're not covered up. I'm going to be like, goodbye, and guess what? I don't have to do a makeup lab either, because the rules say you must come prepared for lab each day, right? So make sure you're prepared for lab, and that includes dressing properly for lab. Throw an old pair of sneakers and a pair of socks in the trunk of your car, along with a set of clothes, right? For that day you forget, or that day you have a horrible accident, right? And you're all set, and you have what you need. So that's part of your homework, right? Pack your bag. All right. Safety glasses, you're required to wear them. You can use, like I said, we've got a donation bin. You can take a pair to use all semester long, scribble out their name, write your name on it, clean them up, throw them in your baggie, you're good, or go buy you your own set from the bookstore. Again, they're at the counter, the cash register counter. You just ask for the microbiology safety glasses. These are not impact resistant, so you can't, like, at the end of the semester take them home and, like, go use saws and crazy stuff like that, right? They're not that type. They're splash. They're for splash, because that's the hazard we're going to deal with in this lab, right, is a splash hazard. Page protectors, I don't know if my person ordered them, so if you could bring in your own too, I would appreciate. I do have some left in my thing from last semester. Write your name along the edge of it. Again, once you bring it in, you're going to put it in your bag with your lab coat, your glasses, and your pen. This is to protect your papers from spills, so you don't have to throw them out, because you're going to write out your instructions, right? You can put them in the page protector and have it on the lab bench, so that way if a spill happens, we can just clean off that page protector and your papers are protected. Because if we spill on your papers, they go in the bucket and you just lost all your work. Take a picture of it before we put it in the bucket sometimes. With page protectors, we don't have to bother with that. Alright, so I already talked about personal belongings. Cell phones fall into that category. Turn it off, put it in your bag. You don't need it. You really don't need it. I have calculators for you to use in lab. We have clocks, we have timers. You have no reason to use that really expensive device in this room, because you don't want anything to happen to that really expensive device. If you absolutely cannot live without it, we have baggies, plastic baggies you can put it in to protect it. I ask that you reuse that baggie unless you spill on it by, of course, putting it in your extra large baggie with all your personal belongings that are kept in lab. And I've got the gallon-sized ones because we have, people with like insanely huge bags and didn't fit in the sandwich-sized baggie. But I have both, and they're with our storage of gloves. So one of the biggest problems we have is spillage of liquid cultures, which we do use sometimes. So if it contains a lot of microorganisms, we need to follow the protocol of soaking it with Lysol for 10 minutes. I'll set a timer before we wipe it up, and then we're going to spray it down again. And again, those paper towels will go in the bucket. So although for this class I'll probably set up tubes, like I said, to save time. There's sometimes I'll forget something or something else we need to additionally do, and I'll say go either to the front or the back of the room and pick up a tube. Don't ever come to pick up a tube without a test tube rack. As you can see, we have a whole cabin of them. We're not going to run out. We got a whole set back there, right? Grab your rack, go to wherever I tell you to go to pick up your tube, and put the tube in the rack, because they are glass tubes. If you do not carry in a rack, then you have the potential of dropping it, right? And it happens every semester, right? People drop something. It's not a huge deal. We'll clean it up, especially if it's a sterile culture, doesn't have any growth in it. It's much easier to clean up because we don't have to disinfect, right? The other thing that I'll actually demonstrate is that we never ever carry tubes by the cap or pick them up by the cap. The caps are not secure on these tubes. So I'm going to be a good doobie. I'm going to grab me a rack. In the back of the room, these two refrigerators hold our sterile culture media. This is an example of raw cultures that we use. So I would pick it up by the tube, right? I'm not going to grab it by this cap because this cap is not secure. The tube could fall. Right? So first thing I do is I grab it by the tube itself, right? And I transfer it into my rack and then I carry it. You can't shake these either because as you can see, it's not a sealed cap, right? So this is what's going to happen. Everything's going to go flying everywhere, right? This is sterile culture media, right? So I don't have to worry about disinfecting. I did just contaminate my hand. But if this is a culture that has microbial growth in it, we just made a big old problem mess, right? Which you will never do, right? You will never shake these tubes or tip them in such a way, right, that they will spill. Okay. All right. I always clean up my messes. Usually if I do that, you guys remember not to. Alright, so we do put reagent bottles. We have smaller bottles. So most of the stuff that we work with as far as stains are flammable. They contain things like ethanol and stuff like that, alcohols. We have them in smaller concentrations, so usually it doesn't pose a hazard. But because of that, those bottles get empty. If it gets empty, you let me know. We have a special place, actually, even our staining rack, because that happens, where you put empty bottles. Do not fill them up. You'll notice I even have my cabinet somewhat blocked with my cart. I know you guys like to help. This is one of those things you can't help with. You can't refill stain bottles. That's something I need to do. Why don't you go ahead and sit at one of the lab benches? Are you here for microbiology lab? Okay. Go ahead and, when you're late, you got to sit right up front. But all the materials you're going to need are there, so pick a spot. Okay. Next one. So the other thing with stains, they're hazardous to the environment. So you'll notice that we have jugs in the sinks that we don't use, right? We don't use these sinks, we use them for storage. They also leak, by the way. That's why we don't use them, because again, they would flood the entire lab bench and then you wouldn't be able to use the lab bench. So I'm going to show you guys these, and I purposely left this one mostly full. And these are newer jugs, so you can somewhat see through them. You guys see that level? I need you guys to help me out with this, because although I'll try to check I'm stained it if these aren't too full. Let me know if this is getting too full. Don't pour it in here, because then you're going to pour all in our sink, and then you're going to stain our nice disinfectant bottles that I'd like to stain here. And you can tell, obviously, like, we pour stain in here, right? It's very well stained. And then these are disposed of properly. So there's one for each side of the room. And then, as I said, the disinfectant bottles are here. And we want to keep them in here. Don't hang them on the edge, right? Some people are tempted to do this. That will break this trigger. And then we have pine bottles. If you know anything about the budget here, two of these bottles I bought myself. Okay. The Dollar Tree. I love the Dollar Tree. That place is awesome. And then we inherited two from Slide Out. So we actually have 4 bottles. I mean, it's exciting. 4 bottles. So each lab bench has their own bottle of Lysol to spray down their lab bench. You don't have to share or wait. Oh, test tubes in a rack. Do we have that one twice? I don't know. That's all right. Why isn't it going forward? Okay, Bunsen burners. I think I'm going to actually try and put together a video. Maybe Steve will help me with this. We have several different types of Bunsen burners we work. Once we get to week 3, they'll actually already be on the lab bench, and then throughout the semester, we pretty much leave them on the lab bench, and you guys just clean around them. It just makes it easier, because it's a tool that we use all the time. There were 3 different ones. At one time, I was like, maybe we can just order and have all of them the same. Then I was like, you know what? It's good for our students that we have 3 different kinds, because you guys will see 3 different kinds in action, And whenever lab you go to, you're going to know how to use any type of Bunsen burner they may have. There you go, right? So I'll do a video of all 3 different ones, right? And so those of you guys that are scared to light Bunsen burners and stuff like that, we'll get you past that. This is what we use to light them. We don't use lighters. We use what's called a flint striker. So this actually contains flint, this little black stuff. I check these throughout the semester to make sure there's black stuff, but in case, you know, somehow I missed one, please check and make sure you have flint. The trick to these is actually bending them like this and then putting them back together, because that forces the flint against this file so that when you go like this, it sparked? Okay, good, because sometimes I can see it on the other side. You want to check and make sure you have spark, because I'll hear this, right? And they had no fires happening, right? And I'm like, somebody help them, somebody help them, the room is filling up with gas, right? Or I'll say, turn it off, I'm coming, right? Just turn off the gas, right? Because if you don't light it, then you're just filling up this room with gas, right? And we definitely don't want to do that. So if you're having trouble with it, you know, just ask for help, and we'll eventually get it done. This is one of the old things that's been in here, but I think it's probably important because you might run into these in another lab. This is called a serological pipette, if you've never seen this before, for measuring relatively large volumes of liquids. We've phased this out. We're using micropipetters now, which get little plastic tips put on them that measure smaller volumes. And these are more common. You've probably even seen these on TV, right, when you watch those shows like CSI and stuff like that, where they have these types of instruments. So you're going to learn how to use these. I still use these in some of the lab prep that I have to do. What you do is you put a mechanical, or I have a machine that's like a little vacuum machine that I can put on here and it helps suck up, right? So I don't have to break my thumb wheeling this thing up, right, and then dispensing the liquid. Other really old times is literally a suction bowl, right? I've actually had a professor who stuck this to his mouth. Right, that's why that's in here, is because you would never want to do that, right? Especially if you're working with microorganisms. In this room, we put nothing in our mouths, ever, right? Ever, ever, ever. Again, it wouldn't be huge in this lab, but it's a good practice, right, to not do something like that. So we kept that in there because, right, you might need it for your future. Mascara. You're all beautiful. You really are. You don't need it. Skip it on lab day. If you feel you absolutely have to, stick it in your bag and put it on after lab. The reason for this is because you're a beginning student. A lot of you guys maybe use microscopes 1 or 2 times, and you're going to get too close to your oculars, right? And you're going to blink. And guess what you're going to do? Put mascara on your ocular lenses. So you're going to spend half your lab period cleaning your windshield, right? Your ocular lenses, and not getting any work done. Or you're not going to clean up, and the person behind you is going to hate you, right? Because they're going to have to clean up your mess. So just, you know, skip it on lab day, right? Starting next week, because we're going to be using microscopes next week. Okay, Eyewash station, I went over that earlier, right? We don't use the actual station, we use the bottles. We have 2, so if we have to use 2, we will. Fire blankets on top of that cabinet there, as well as our first aid kit and things are in there. And it's also where our safety agreements will be. You'll notice that on this side that we're on, if you flip over, it asks for an emergency contact because, as I said, we are going to work with fire in this room. The only person I've ever had a fire incident with was a guy with long hair who bent over the Bunsen burner and it caught on fire, and he just tapped it out with his hand, right? So the girls were screaming at the lab edge, and the fire was out before I even knew what was going on, and, you know, he had little singed, burnt edges, and it smelled bad. That was the extent of it. Other places I've worked, I had a girl, because she was cold, set a fire in my sink. So I've, you know, experienced it all the craziness. So we do deal with fire. So just to make it easier, depending what may or may not happen, and we do deal with serious hazards, just to make it easier for you, I ask you to put emergency contact there, because if we call emergency personnel, I will give that to them, right, to help assist you get the care that you may or may not need. So again, hopefully we don't have to deal with that. There is a fire extinguisher at the back of the room by the Eyewash station. There's another one under the sink. If you feel comfortable using it and you're in close proximity, go ahead and use it. But the first thing we need to do, usually if we have fire, it's because of the Bunsen burner. What do you think we need to do? turn off the gas, right? And then if there's papers and stuff on fire, then we're going to use the fire extinguisher. If you're afraid, you're totally fine with just walking out the building. I will not hold it against you, right? I know how to use these things. Thankfully, I haven't had to use it in a long time. If for some reason I'm in, like, say, way over here on the other side of the room and we have, like, a serious problem, right? Somebody passed out, we have a fire, any number of emergencies, and I yell, push the button. That is the button I'm talking about, the emergency police button. It goes directly to campus police. They will talk to us through that and help us with whatever issue we have. So sometimes for like the first 5 seconds, I panic. Right? And I start screaming, push the button. You guys are allowed to push that button, right? Because it doesn't actually like bring the police to us, but they will talk to us, right? And so, you know, it's better often that I pass out. Feel free to push the button. Please push the button. Okay? Students can push the button. Sometimes, you know, they get nervous and think, you know, push the button. When in doubt, push the button. Okay. So that's the emergency call button. I feel like I skipped over something. The broken glass.
You mentioned uncontaminated glassware, but where
Yeah.
do you put contaminated glassware?
In that bucket.
Okay, so
In that bucket, and then you alert Paula. Yeah. So never broken slides, broken test tubes. I can't remember where it is in here. Never ever pick up any of that, any broken glassware, with your hands, even if you have gloves on. So we have a dustpan and broom at the back of the room and the front of the room. As you imagine, this happens a lot. It's fine. Even if it's a large piece of glass, you don't know where all the sharp edges are, right? Don't chance it by picking up it with your hand, even with a glove on. Use the dustpan and broom. That's what they're for, right? The same should be true for you even at home, right? You shouldn't try to pick up glass with your hands. That's how you end up with cuts. So that was an important one I wanted to make sure to go over. The other is contact lenses. Anyone wear contact lenses? Okay. So when you wear contact lenses, it puts you at a greater risk because stuff could get trapped behind that lens. So, of course, Delgado doesn't want to mitigate this risk. So they say it's on you, right? If you choose to wear them, you don't follow instructions, something happens, don't try and sue the school. We have no money anyways, y'all. I can tell you from years of experience, as long as you wear your safety glasses, right, and you do what you're supposed to do, it's not really a serious risk in this lab, right? But it's something we have to make you aware of, that it's your choice. I will also put notice on that agreement. It says, do you wear contact lenses? So even if it's sometimes, right, don't feel you have to go out and buy glasses if you don't have them, right? Again, it's your choice, but understand that it is your choice. I will put a little sticker on your thing to indicate, again, if we end up having an eye emergency, I know which students in my class may potentially have contact lenses in. And I can properly inform emergency personnel that may be assisting us. The other thing is any medical conditions you have. Please put it on this sheet. No one else sees this but instructors. So we don't cancel labs unless we absolutely have to. So if something happens to me, someone else will be here, right? And they will have access to the folders that we keep in the emergency cabinet, and they could give it to emergency personnel. So if you have some type of disorder, epilepsy, diabetes, or something like that that may cause you to pass out, and that you would want us to pass that information on to emergency personnel, or like I had an epileptic student, she didn't want the ambulance called each time she had a seizure. She preferred to have an emergency contact called. We can do something like that because an ambulance is expensive, right? Although I'll tell you that our health person that comes, he's pretty good about assessing the situation and not calling the ambulance unless it's absolutely necessary. But you can write that on that part of that form, right? Say, you know, I have this particular disorder. Please just call my emergency contact person if something should happen. So I ask, write as much detail if you can there because we're going to keep it confidential. If you feel you can't put something on there that I need to know about that would affect your performance in this class and your health in this class, please write, talk to me. I have a medical condition, okay? And I will keep it confidential, okay? So make sure you fill that out, right? And I'm going to have you guys put those on the front table. So go ahead and do that now. Yep, that's it. Oh, don't file them. Just go ahead and make a pile. We're going to file the lab stuff. Okay, so the other thing is we do work with chemicals. Most of them, the issue we have, like the stains, is flammable. One of the chemicals we work with is corrosive, and so I'll warn you that you need to wear gloves with it. It's actually a very strong base. Again, I can attest that it burns, because stupid me didn't have gloves on once. So all the material safety data sheets have to be kept in the lab, right? So they're here if you ever want or have questions about things. But we're going to try and incorporate more into lab, letting you guys know about these safety things and how to read these types of sheets. But these are some of the symbols you may see and what they mean. Pretty much in this lab, we of course deal with things that are hardest to the environment, why we put them in those jugs. We do work with one that's definitely corrosive. And yeah, we don't have any explanation point ones, I think, although we might have some skin eye irritants. That strong base probably falls in the category. But most of the stuff we do work with is flammable. But again, we work with small quantities that usually it's not an issue. We don't work with anything that is explosive, thank goodness. Right? You would have the bomb thing. So that's good. Oh yeah, that's tiny, huh?
It's usually a hand.
It's a hand and like chemicals being poured on it. Yeah.
Eaten away.
Eaten away, yeah. I'm sorry it's really small. This is the best one I could find at the time. But I'm going to try and incorporate these throughout the semester and really educate you guys a little bit more on safety. But there's our sheet. Here's some of the videos that I'm going to actually post another page to our Canvas linking to those. And some of these I'll show you guys or tell you to watch them before class. So the last is fire plan. So we actually have a fire plan for this room, one of the few rooms where we actually have a plan. So that's why fire drills aren't going to happen. Knock on wood. Right? If you have a plan and you're prepared, hopefully it won't happen. Oh, I'm not going to bother downloading it from here. I already have it open on my computer. So the general rule, right, is get up, get out, and get away. But in this lab, we have a few extra things, unfortunately, we have to do besides just getting up and getting out and away from the building. Obviously, for working with Bunsen burners, we want to turn those off, right? Because unattended, it could create another fire or another hazard. You don't necessarily want to. It's good practice to not wear your lab coats out of this lab, right? Whenever you leave this lab, if you have to go to the bathroom, take a phone call, go get a sip of water, you need to take your lab coat off, your gloves if you're wearing them, and wash your hands and then leave the room. And your safety glasses you're going to want to take off. We don't care about putting them in our bags, right? If it's a fire drill, we turn off the Bunsen burner first. We take off our gloves, our lab coat, our safety glasses. You can just throw them on your lab bench or on your chair or something like that. Grab your stuff, right, quickly as possible. And then we're going to head out the front of the building. Right, so here we are. We're going to head out the front of the building. We're going to walk straight out that path when you exit those doors. And we're going to meet at this tree. I'm going to bring my roll sheet with me, right? We have the rolls printed for each class, so I can make sure that everybody got out safely, although I'm going to be the last one to leave, and I'm going to close this door, it locks. So if you forget something, it's okay, it will be secure. Only campus police and instructors can get into these rooms, right? They lock when we leave, and I will make sure that it locks in case you leave anything important behind. But again, try and take your stuff, at least your car keys, in case you don't want to have to come back. That decision will be made depending on the situation. And this is why another reason other than to make sure everyone got out safely, because if there is actual fire, they're going to be like, is everybody accounted for? And that's my job to say yes or no, 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 I don't know where so-and-so is, right? They went to the bathroom when the fire alarm happened. They have not met up with us. I don't know where they are. Because you could be passed out in the bathroom, right? And I'm pretty sure you're going to want them to come get you. Although I tell you, when the fire alarm goes off, policemen make a sweep of every single room in this building, right? But again, they could miss you, right? And you definitely don't want that to happen. So we'll meet up, and then, of course, depending on the situation, I make the decision on whether we're returning to class, right, or we're bugging out, okay? You're not going to know that information if you bug out, right, and you don't come to the meeting spot, right? And you also run the risk that we lose track of you and no one's going to rescue you, okay? I care about every single one of you. I know it feels like grade school, right, to do it this way, but there's important reasons why we do it. So the thing is if you're in the night class, their designated spot is the light post because, of course, it's dark, right, next to the new building, right outside this building. And that's far enough distance away from this building. Why are we getting away from the building? Why are we not being like the rest of the idiots who stand right next to the building? All right, we know we have gas in this building, right? We use it. It could explode, right? So if you don't want to blow up at the building, you want to get away from the building, right? Other people are lazy or they don't care, and Darwin will take care of them. You will hear me yelling at them. They just laugh at me, half of them. I'm like, I'm over it. You can die if you want to. I'm out of here. If it's raining, we're going to go out the back of the building, and we're going to head to Building 7, which is the library, but they don't want us to call it that. It's the Student Resource Center that houses the library and a whole bunch of other cool resources. If you haven't been there, check it out. It is Building 7. It does have a name, Marvin E. Thalmus Hall. We will walk in right there. There's a really nice seating area. We'll gather there. I'll run through roll, make sure we have everybody. And again, we'll assess based on what's going on, what we're going to do. Any questions regarding that? So I'll actually print that and put it by the door as well to remind us. And of course, I'll tell you, hey, it's raining out, isn't it? Okay, we're going to Building 7. Everybody meet up in the library. So you guys will go before me. So it's important that you know where we're going, right? Because I'm going to be the last to leave. Oh, crap, I get to blow up if I don't move fast. If you guys don't move fast enough, right? I got to be the last one out. Okay, so as I said earlier, everything is in Canvas. I'm going to actually end this recording and start a new one for the activity we're actually going to do today that we're going to do as an entire class.